Every great breakthrough begins with a small spark. Not a lightning strike, not a trumpet blast from the heavens, but a quiet question. A whisper that asks, "Why does this work the way it does?" Or, "What if I tried something different?" That whisper, if you learn to listen, is the true beginning of transformation. The problem is most people dismiss that whisper. They tell themselves it doesn't matter, it's too small, or it's not worth their attention. They drown it in noise, in routine, in distraction. But here's the truth, the whisper is everything. That spark of curiosity is not entertainment. It is an invitation to shape your reality. Think about it. Every invention, every theory, every leap forward in human history was born from someone refusing to ignore their curiosity. The airplane was not built by someone who accepted gravity as final. It was built by someone who asked, "What if I could fly?" Electricity wasn't harnessed by someone satisfied with candlelight. It came from someone who asked, "What else is possible?" That question is a tool, and if you learn to use it, you stop being a passive observer of life and become an active creator of it. So let me challenge you. When was the last time you asked yourself a question that made you uncomfortable? When was the last time you let curiosity lead you instead of convenience? Most people bury their spark because curiosity demands effort. It demands that you follow the thread, test the idea, step into uncertainty. But this is where growth lives. This is where breakthroughs are born. Here's how to reclaim it. Start noticing the moments of irritation in your life. The things that feel inefficient, unfair, or unexplained. Instead of complaining, turn those moments into questions. Why does this process waste so much time? Why do I always feel drained at this hour of the day? Why does my mind light up when I'm around certain people but shut down with others? These aren't random thoughts. They're doorways. And every doorway, if you push it open, can lead to a better version of your life. Don't just let curiosity float in your head. Capture it. Write it down. Make it visible. A question on paper is a seed waiting for action. Carry a notebook or use your phone, and whenever the spark hits, record it. Over time, you'll notice patterns. You'll see the same types of questions repeating. Those patterns reveal where your mind is drawn, where your genius lives, and where you must dig deeper. And here's the beauty. You don't need certainty to act on curiosity. You just need courage. You don't need the whole plan, and you need the first test. That one experiment, that one step, is the bridge between curiosity and progress. And once you cross it, momentum takes over. So listen closely. Your life is full of sparks. Every question is an ignition. The only real difference between the people who reshape the world and the ones who merely survive it is that the first group refused to let their sparks die out. Close your eyes for a moment and realize this. You carry within you the most advanced laboratory ever designed. No machines, no wires, no expensive tools, just your mind. The greatest discoveries, the boldest innovations, the revolutions that shifted the course of humanity. Most of them began not in a lab, not in a workshop, but inside the theater of imagination. A thought experiment is more than daydreaming. It's disciplined imagination. It's the ability to take a question, strip it to its essence, and run the scenario in your mind before the world ever sees it. And this matters because your mind can run 1,000 experiments before you ever take one risky step in reality. That is power. That is leverage. Think about it. The concept of time dilation, the bending of space, the very idea that energy and matter are linked. None of these were discovered with expensive instruments first. They were discovered by imagining simple situations, riding a beam of light, watching clocks tick at different speeds, holding two ideas in tension until clarity appeared. What this proves is simple. Imagination guided by discipline is not fantasy. It is one of the most reliable tools we possess to test the limits of reality. And here's how you use it in your life. The next time you face a decision, instead of being paralyzed by fear, run the experiment in your head. Take the two choices you're torn between and play them forward. Don't just see them vaguely, imagine them vividly. If you take path A, how does your day look in a week? In a year, what problems appear? What victories surprise you? Now rewind and run path B. Which path carries energy, momentum, growth? Which one feels hollow? That simple exercise often reveals the truth you've been avoiding. But don't stop there. Push the edges of your imagination. Ask impossible questions. What if you removed the biggest limitation in your life? What if you doubled the constraint instead? What if you flipped the rules upside down? In these imagined extremes, you uncover truths that ordinary logic hides. Because when you stretch your thinking to the absurd, the essential pieces of reality show themselves. The beauty of thought experiments is that they cost nothing, but they reveal everything. They force you to challenge assumptions you didn't even know you were carrying. They uncover blind spots. They train your brain to see beyond surface-level problems into the underlying structure. And once you see structure, you can shape it. Here's the challenge. Before you dismiss a dream as impossible, run it as a thought experiment. Before you abandon a goal because the world says it's unrealistic, let your imagination test it first. Because many times what feels impossible is simply what hasn't been tested with the full force of your mind. Remember this: the world rewards those who dare to imagine before they act. Your mind is not just a place to store memories, it is a laboratory for possibility. Use it, experiment boldly, and you may find that the very thing you imagined yesterday becomes the reality you walk into tomorrow. The truth is rarely buried in complication. More often it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone bold enough to strip away the clutter. Simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is clarity, and clarity is power. The greatest minds, the greatest breakthroughs, the greatest leaders, all of them shared this one trait: the ability to take something overwhelming, something tangled, and cut it down to its essence. Think about it. The laws that govern the universe, as complex as they seem, reduced to elegant, simple equations. The most powerful ideas in human history are not paragraphs long. They fit in a sentence. Freedom matters. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Simple, concise, unforgettable. Why? Because simplicity carries truth like a blade carries an edge. But here's the problem. Most people complicate everything. They believe if something is covered in complexity, it must be smarter, deeper, more profound. That's a lie. Complexity is often camouflage. It hides weak thinking. It confuses rather than clarifies. And when you live in confusion, you lose time, energy, and direction. The real genius is not the one who makes things harder to understand. The real genius is the one who makes things so clear, so clean that anyone can grasp them. And that's where the economy of simplicity comes in. It's not about dumbing things down, it's about cutting to the core, finding the principle that drives the whole system, and putting it into words so sharp they can cut through the fog. Here's how you bring this into your own life. Whatever problem you face, whether it's a business challenge, a relationship conflict, or a personal goal, try this. Force yourself to explain it in one sentence. Not 10, not 5, 1. If you can't explain it in one, you don't understand it yet. And until you understand it, you can't solve it. Once you have that sentence, ask yourself, what's the smallest test I can run to see if this is true? This does two things. It saves you from wasting months wandering in the weeds, and it gives you immediate clarity. You're not lost in complexity anymore. You're working with sharp tools, and here's the secret. Simplicity doesn't just make your life clearer, it makes your vision contagious. People don't rally behind complicated theories. They rally behind clear truths. They don't follow leaders who speak in riddles. They follow leaders who cut through the noise. If you want to move people, inspire teams, change culture, you must master the economy of simplicity. So here's the challenge. Take the biggest problem weighing on you right now and compress it into a single line. That line is your compass. That line is your test. And when you act on it, you'll see something extraordinary. Simplicity unlocks action. Simplicity unlocks momentum. We fear the unknown because it threatens our sense of control. The human mind craves certainty, patterns, predictability. But life doesn't play by those rules. Life is wild, untamed, and unpredictable. The truth is this: the unknown is not your enemy. The unknown is your greatest invitation. It's the call to grow, to stretch, to discover what you are capable of beyond the walls you've already built. Think about it. Every breakthrough in history started with someone walking into uncertainty. The explorers who set sail not knowing what was beyond the horizon. The inventors who risked ridicule and failure by building what had never existed. The artists who poured their souls into work, not knowing if anyone would understand. Every one of them stepped into the fog. And it was in that fog, in that uncertainty, that they found greatness. The problem is, most people resist it. They cling to what they know, even if it keeps them small, even if it suffocates their potential. Why? Because the familiar feels safe. But safety is often just another word for stagnation. When you run from uncertainty, you run from the very thing that could transform you. So here's the shift. Stop treating uncertainty as a threat. Start treating it as an invitation. When life throws you into the unknown, it is not punishing you. It is presenting you with an opportunity, a doorway into growth that certainty could never provide. Think of a seed planted in the soil. It's buried in darkness, surrounded by uncertainty. It doesn't know what lies above, but it pushes through anyway. And only when it dares to break through the unknown does it touch the sunlight. That's you. The soil is your comfort zone. The unknown is the path to your sunlight. Now, I won't pretend this is easy. The unknown will test you. It will strip you of assumptions. It will make you doubt yourself. But if you endure that discomfort, you emerge stronger, sharper, more alive. The unknown is the gym for your spirit. Every rep, every test, every moment of uncertainty builds resilience, creativity, courage. And here's the paradox. The people who achieve the most, who live the fullest lives, are not those who wait for certainty. They are those who act in spite of uncertainty. They don't wait until all the lights turn green before leaving the driveway. They start moving, trusting that clarity will come as they go. So ask yourself right now, where are you avoiding the unknown? Where are you letting fear of uncertainty chain you to the familiar? That fear is not a signal to stop, it's a signal to move. It's proof that you are standing on the edge of growth. The world looks complicated, doesn't it? Millions of moving pieces, endless problems, chaos everywhere. But beneath that chaos, there's order. Beneath the noise, there are patterns. And those who learn to see those patterns, to recognize the invariants, are the ones who rise above the noise and shape the future. Look around you. History repeats itself in cycles. Technology evolves through repeating principles. Human behavior follows predictable rhythms. What looks unique on the surface is often just another version of something that's happened before. And the great thinkers, the visionaries, the innovators, they were not magicians. They were pattern recognizers. They trained their minds to notice the invisible threads that connect everything. Take physics. The law of gravity applies whether you drop an apple or launch a rocket. Same principle, different scale. Take business. The psychology of trust and value applies whether you're running a corner shop or a global corporation. Same invariant, different application. Even in your own life. The lessons you ignored 5 years ago are showing up again today, dressed in different clothes. Life will keep sending you the same test until you learn the pattern. This is the power of invariance. When you can strip away the surface details and see the deeper principle, you hold the master key. You're no longer guessing, you're decoding. You're no longer overwhelmed by complexity, you're navigating by truth. And here's the tragedy. Most people never train this skill. They get lost in the details, distracted by the noise, overwhelmed by the surface differences. They fail to see that beneath it all, the rules of the game rarely change. That's why the same people repeat the same mistakes. That's why entire industries collapse when they ignore the deeper principles. So how do you build this vision? You practice. You zoom out. You stop asking, what makes this situation different? And you start asking, what makes this situation the same? You search for the invariants, the repeating structures, the timeless rules that govern outcomes no matter where they show up. Think of a musician. At first, they see each song as unique, each melody as separate, but over time they recognize patterns, chord progressions, rhythms, scales. Suddenly, music is no longer infinite chaos. It's a language and they can speak it fluently. Life is no different. Once you start seeing its patterns, you stop being a spectator and start becoming a composer. The truth is, life rewards pattern recognition. It rewards the mind that can look at a battlefield, a boardroom, or a relationship and see the same underlying principles at play. Once you master this, you can predict outcomes, avoid traps, and spot opportunities before anyone else does. Ideas are beautiful. They light up your imagination. They make you feel unstoppable. They create entire worlds inside your mind. But here's the hard truth. Ideas that stay in your head are worthless. The world does not reward thought alone. The world rewards action. And action begins when you stop treating your ideas as fantasies and start treating them as experiments. Think of every breakthrough in history. Electricity, flight, medicine, technology. None of them began perfect. None of them arrived fully formed. They started as messy experiments. A thought turned into a trial. And in that trial, lessons were learned. Adjustments were made. The idea evolved until it became reality. This is the equation of action. Hypothesize, test, measure, iterate, that's it. 4 steps that can take any dream from imagination into existence. First, you hypothesize. You form the idea in your mind, but not as a fantasy, as a possibility. You say, if I do this, maybe this outcome will happen. That's your hypothesis. Second, you test. You don't wait for perfect timing. You don't wait for certainty. You take a step, you run the experiment, you put your idea in motion. Third, you measure. You pay attention to the results. Did it work? Did it fail? What did you learn? Failure is not defeat here, it's data. Success is not a finish line, it's feedback. And fourth, you iterate. You refine. You adjust. You improve. You repeat the cycle. That's how progress is born. The problem is, most people get stuck at step one. They live in their heads. They dream endlessly. They imagine, they plan, they talk about what could be, but they never test. They never put the idea through the fire, and because of that, their brilliance never sees daylight. Think of the Wright brothers. They didn't invent flight by writing about it or dreaming about it. They built clumsy machines. They failed hundreds of times. Each crash wasn't the end, it was feedback. Each test brought them closer to the truth. That's the equation of action in motion. The same applies to you. Whether it's starting a business, writing a book, building a career, or changing your health, stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for perfect. The only way forward is trial. You don't need the whole staircase. You just need the first step, then the courage to learn from wherever it takes you. And here's the beauty. Once you start living this way, fear loses its grip. Because you no longer see action as a win-or-lose gamble. You see it as an experiment. Every test teaches you. Every attempt moves you forward. The pressure to get it right disappears, and what remains is growth. Remember this. Thought without trial is a cage. But thought turned into action, tested, measured, refined, is the very force that changes the world. The equation is simple. Hypothesize, test, measure, iterate. Do this, and no idea of yours will ever die in silence. We've been conditioned to believe that being wrong is a weakness, that mistakes define us, that failure should be avoided at all costs. But here's the paradox. The faster you are willing to be wrong, the faster you move toward what is right. The truth is, being wrong quickly is not a failure. It's a strategic advantage. Think of it this way. Every wrong turn is a false branch on the tree of possibility. If you cling to it, if you defend it with pride, you waste years of your life climbing the wrong tree. But if you admit the mistake fast, you prune that branch. You free your energy to climb the right one. The difference isn't just years, it's destiny. The people who rise, the ones who innovate, the ones who push the world forward, they don't fear being wrong. They fear wasting time protecting their ego. They move with humility. They test, they fail, they learn, and they adjust. Over and over again. Think of Thomas Edison. Thousands of experiments, thousands of failures. Yet each so-called failure was simply a pruning of a false branch. Each mistake was one more pathway eliminated, one step closer to the answer. His genius wasn't that he was never wrong. It was that he was willing to be wrong more times, more quickly than anyone else. Contrast that with those who cling to their pride. They get an idea, and when reality shows them it doesn't work, they deny it. They resist. They double down. They let ego blind them to the truth. And while they defend their identity, they lose their progress. Being wrong slowly is the most dangerous mistake of all. Intellectual humility is the secret weapon. It's the mindset that says, I don't need to be right, I need to get it right. And if the path to getting it right requires me to be wrong 100 times, so be it. Every failure is not a wound to my pride, but fuel for my growth. Here's the power shift. When you stop trying to look smart and start trying to learn fast, you accelerate your evolution. Suddenly, mistakes aren't humiliations, they're revelations. Feedback isn't criticism, it's treasure. And failure isn't the end. It's the compass that points you toward the truth. Ask yourself, how many dreams die because people are too proud to be wrong? How many opportunities vanish because someone refused to admit they miscalculated? How much potential is lost because ego stood in the way of growth? Don't let that be you. Be wrong quickly. Fail fast, fail forward, fail with purpose. Each wrong step is not wasted. It's energy redirected. Each mistake is not a verdict, and it's a doorway. Remember, the goal is not to protect your pride. The goal is progress, and progress belongs to those who let go of the need to always be right and embrace the power of being wrong as fast as possible. We live in an age addicted to speed. Quick answers, Instant success, overnight fame, and that's what people chase. But genius doesn't follow that timeline. Greatness is not built in a weekend. It is carved through years of steady curiosity, patient testing, and the invisible work nobody applauds. The truth is simple. Genius is often slow work. Think of compound interest in finance. A few dollars invested every day grows into a fortune over decades. Curiosity works the same way. A small question, a small experiment repeated over years compounds into breakthroughs no one else could imagine. The problem is, most people never stay long enough to see the compounding take effect. They quit too early. They abandon the process because the reward isn't instant. But persistence multiplies insight. Each test, each trial, each observation adds another layer. Over time, patterns reveal themselves. Connections emerge. What once seemed impossible becomes obvious. Genius is not a single lightning strike of inspiration. It is the fire built from 1,000 sparks. Take the story of Charles Darwin. He didn't wake up one morning with the theory of evolution fully formed in his mind. He spent decades observing, collecting data, comparing species, writing, testing ideas, revising them. His genius was not speed, it was patience. His brilliance was not instant insight. It was sustained curiosity compounded over years. Now compare that with the modern mindset. We want shortcuts. We want hacks. We want the illusion of mastery without the slow grind of learning. But the reality is, true mastery cannot be hacked. It is built on long-term commitment. It is built on the willingness to plant seeds and water them daily, knowing it may take years before the harvest comes. And this applies not just to science or art, but to your own life. Whatever your dream is, building a business, mastering a skill, transforming your health, writing your story, don't measure it by days or weeks. Measure it by years. Measure it by decades. Success that lasts is slow-baked. Genius that matters is earned patiently. This is the principle of compound curiosity. Stay with the questions. Keep testing. Keep experimenting. Keep wondering. 100 tiny bets may fail, but one will open the door to everything, and the only way to reach that one is to keep playing the long game. So ask yourself, are you chasing speed or are you building something that lasts? Because what you repeat daily patiently compounds, and over years it becomes the foundation of your greatness. Time and patience are not obstacles, and they are multipliers. Curiosity compounded over years is the birthplace of genius. Don't rush the process. Honor it, because persistence doesn't just build results, it builds you into the person capable of sustaining them. An idea locked in your mind is like a seed kept in a drawer. It has the potential to grow into something extraordinary, but in isolation it dies. Genius is not just about seeing what others can't. Genius is about sharing it, translating it, planting it in the soil of collective reality so that it can take root and multiply. History proves this truth. The greatest advances of humanity didn't come from solitary brilliance alone. They came when someone took their insight and translated it into a shared language, into teams, into practices that could scale. The printing press, the telephone, the internet. None of these were just personal ideas. They became world-changing because they were communicated, adopted, and expanded by others. Think about it. When you keep an idea to yourself, it remains fragile, limited by your own capacity. But when you share it, you allow it to evolve. You invite feedback, collaboration, and new perspectives. An idea in your mind is one-dimensional. An idea in the minds of many becomes exponential. The tragedy is that so many people hoard their ideas out of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood. But here's the truth. Ideas are not meant to be perfect before they are shared. They are meant to be shaped by the world. The act of sharing is what polishes them, strengthens them, and gives them life beyond your imagination. Take science, for example. A discovery doesn't change the world until it's published, until it's debated, until it's tested by peers, until it becomes knowledge we all can use. Take art. A masterpiece hidden in a studio impacts no one. It's only when it's displayed, when it resonates with people, that it fulfills its purpose. Ideas are no different. So the challenge is this: learn to translate your insight. Don't just think in brilliance, communicate in clarity. Use language that others can grasp. Build teams who believe in the vision. Create practices that can scale beyond you. Because the measure of an idea's power is not how brilliant it sounds in your head, but how much it improves the world when it's shared. Imagine a candle. Alone, it can light a room. But if it shares its flame with 1,000 candles, it can light a city. Your ideas are that flame, but they only become fire when you pass them on. Remember, the greatest gift of your mind is not the ability to think for yourself, but the ability to create something that uplifts all of us. Ideas not shared die in silence. Ideas shared can echo across generations, so don't hold them back. Translate them, spread them, scale them, because the world doesn't just need your thoughts, it needs the reality they can create.